Now, according to the FNB report, Stockfils continue to show resilience and commitment in promoting a savings culture in South Africa. This comes despite a tougher economic environment, where Stockfils have collectively surpassed 9.6 billion rand in total contributions towards investments over the past year. Joining me now to unpack Stockfils as a prominent alternative investment in South Africa is growth specialist at FNB Retail Cash Investments, Cebile Magongo. Cebile, a pleasure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Oluthando. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having us. Maybe we can take a snapshot of Stockfils in 2024, just how big, this, I guess, asset class is for many South Africans.
Noluthando, I think we know that currently there's about almost 50 billion that's circulating among Stockfils within South Africa. There's also about 11 million people that are part of Stockfils in South Africa. So I think that just shows that this is such a big market, and it's becoming a prominent player even among the banks. So there's definitely a lot of solutioning that still needs to happen to ensure that we are capturing and solutioning correctly for all the groups that are out there and saving in Stockfils.
I want to speak about the income squeeze that we've all felt. I think all South Africans there bearing the brunt of high interest rates, high inflation, and just the cost of living. And I'm wondering if that has all squeezed the inflows that Stockfils would see.
Not at all. We all know Stockfils. I think a lot of us grew up with them. So this gives Stockfils the advantage that they are tried and tested. So we've seen what actually happens when we come together and we pool funds in order for us to be able to achieve a common goal. So we know that, there's three principles mostly that guide how people save in Stockfils. There's trust, there's accountability, and there's transparency. So those three principles actually bring in the social pressure that makes sure that we all want to have contributed in the Stockfil. We don't want, the next person to have seen that actually I didn't meet my commitment this month. So we think that social pressure is actually instilling such a discipline in people who save in groups to ensure that no one wants to miss the mark in terms of we have this goal in mind, we're going to contribute towards it. So I think that social pressure that comes from saving towards a group helps people to say that I know there's a squeeze. Maybe I have to squeeze in some areas of my life, but because there's this nice thing that all of us are working towards, I definitely want to make sure that I'm contributing towards my Stockfil until we reach the goal that we've set out when we started the group.
Very interesting. You spoke about solutioning for Stockfils, and maybe that starts off with understanding what people use Stockfil, money for. This pooling of funds, is it for saving, for investment purposes? Is it for spending? What exactly are South Africans doing with the money that they put together?
We are seeing such interesting trends, Noluthando. We all grew up with Stockfils, seeing them mostly being used for the traditional ways. Traditional, I mean that they were for groceries, they were for burial, they were for rotational purposes, mainly so that we can make ends meet throughout the month. But what we're seeing now is that people are adapting the solution of pulling funds together, and the goals are very different. We're seeing families come together to save in Stockfils just to ensure that at the end of the year, when there's those family gatherings, there's not a lot of who will contribute towards what. We're seeing families also use the solution just to teach the discipline of savings for their children. So all of us actually are saving in the same account, and everyone can see who has contributed what. But further than that, Noluthando, what we are seeing is that there's groups that are coming together who want to use the solution to actually build that generational wealth. So because there are really no barriers to entry within Stockfils, we can start it as a group of 3 as a minimum, and we can go up to a higher number. As long as the common goal is clear, then we can start saving and then moving towards those structures. What I mean by that is that maybe we start off as a Stockfil, but eventually we actually want to buy property. Eventually we want to invest in shares, in EFTs. Eventually we want to go into those more long-term investments. So the Stockfil actually assists as a catalyst to start saving in the interim. And then as we grow, because we actually can see that, our funds are growing, there's that social pressure, we're committed to the goal. As we're seeing that we goal, we then are able to move on and journey on to the structures that will actually solve for what we initially wanted to achieve as starting the group.
Let's also talk about Stockfils developing into more. Do we see that, initially pooling of funds, that turning into, investment companies, into just something bigger than a Stockfil? Are we finding that because, like you're saying, this model is tried and tested, those who do make use of it, Cebile, are very keen and comfortable for it to stay in that form?
It's different, no, Lutando. Currently, you're finding that there are Stockfils that are buying properties as Stockfils themselves. There are people that are starting off as Stockfils, but then will transition into more juristic structures before they actually invest in the long-term investments, before they go into the properties. So because we're seeing that there is an evolving in what Stockfils can actually do, even within the financial markets. So the solution is being used differently. I guess it does depend on what the group is solving for, number one, and what future state does the group want to see itself in. But I think there's trends going in both ways. We're seeing Stockfils themselves going to property. We're seeing Stockfils going to long-term solutions like investing maybe for longer. We're seeing some of them start off as Stockfils, but then journey and grow into different types of juristic structures.
Let's also then talk about millennials and Gen Z, just young people, and whether they've taken stock of this opportunity, this alternative investment model, and if they are making use of it.
Yes, they definitely are. I think if we look back to last year, we found that within our book, there were over 35% of people who are considered youth in South Africa, which is very exciting. I think that to the point of this is actually a solution that stands on those three principles. There's the trust, there's accountability, and there's the transparency. And we're seeing the young people use the solution for different things. Some, as the most famous ones know, are traveling together. So they're saving in a Stockfil, making the bookings far ahead of time, just to leverage of, that benefit of being in a group and the pooling of funds. You can even start paying for things earlier so that it's much cheaper. And we're also seeing a lot of young people start businesses like this. So we start in a solution of saving. Maybe we can go into franchising. Maybe we can go into a business that we've always wanted to do that will help grow our community. So I think the young people are taking the solution and just changing the narrative of what you can do, but rather taking the core principles of we're together and we have a common goal, and we can always decide what that goal actually is and then use the solution to actually work towards that.
Brilliant. Thank you for these insights. It's been very, very interesting hearing from you. That was Cebile Magongo, who is a growth specialist at FNB Retail Cash Investments.